Okay, the last time we have created EMP table or EMP collection with the help of create collection command. We have not inserted any records into it. This time we are going to insert some records. Okay, so say show DBS. This will show you the entire database here. Out of that we are interested in Shaji DB, so use Shaji and press enter. So it says switch to DB Shaji. Now we are in Shaji database. Say show collection, show collections. This will show you the collection available in this particular database. Here we have only one collection, that is EMP, that also we created with the create collection command. Before we go ahead, I want to create a collection, say EMP1, with the help of insert command. When you try to insert a particular document into a particular collection, the collection gets first created and then the data gets inserted into it. Let's see how. This is another way of creating collection. For that purpose, you should also know what is document. A document is a collection of JSON data, key and value pairs. To understand document, let's go to a notepad, and I'll show you some details about it. So okay, this is the notepad. Okay, now here the JSON data is in the form of key value combination. Here key value, key value, key value, as you can see here, and all these key values are within a brace. Okay, this is the way we represent a JSON data. So JSON data has a key and a value. This is the first column, this key value is for the second column, this key value for the third column, and so on. You can have a number of key and value combined or pairs of data as columns. Okay, there can be a number of columns likewise. For example, for the first column here, I say ename as Shaji. I put it in double quotes because of the character information. Shaji is the character information. Again, second column I say age, which is of numeric information. That's why I have not put it in quotes. And the third column is code. Okay, and that's also numeric value. I have not put it in quotes. Okay, this entire thing from this curly bracket to this curly bracket, the entire closing curly bracket here, we call it as JSON data. Okay, and here we call it as a document. This document I'm going to insert into our table called EMP1. So we call this db.emp1. okay, dot insertOne. Insert1 should be in camel notation. You can see camel case insert and 1. Okay, that means you are going to insert one record. Here 1 O should be capital letter, and here we have the JSON data. So this JSON data, what I have created, I'll copy it and I'll put it here and paste it, Ctrl V. So this is the JSON data I'm going to insert into EMP1. But if EMP1 is already existing, then you will insert that record or this document into that. But if the EMP1 does not exist, then it will create the EMP1 collection. Thereafter it will insert this particular document into it. Okay, now I'm going to copy this entire command, Ctrl C, or say right click, copy, and I'll minimize this. I'll go to Mongo shell and I say right click, so the entire thing is pasted here, and press enter. So that record has been entered here. Okay, the record ID is something here. You can see it's a big ID. Okay, it's a long ID because we have not given an ID here. I'll show you. First of all, this has been inserted, and I'll show collection. So this shows you EMP1 has been created. Since EMP1 was not created, does not exist, so it has created EMP1. Thereafter it has inserted the document here as ename, age and score. So let's see db dot emp1 dot find, open, close, enter. So here our data has been inserted as ename Shaji, age 30, score 45. But this data I have not inserted it. This data has been inserted by mongoDB. This is the ID of this particular document. According to the rule, mongoDB says that every document must have an ID. If you don't put an ID, if you don't provide an ID to the document, mongoDB will insert an ID for you, and their ID will be very long. This way we'll understand what is this ID later on. Okay, now let's insert one more record into it, or one more document into our EMP1. So I'll go back to our notepad. Okay, and here I'll change insert ID underscore ID. See the word underscore ID. This is reserved word for IDs. I'll say the ID as 1. Ename Shaji, and I'll say as 1, and age 35, and score say 50. Okay, now I'll copy this entire thing. Okay, right click, copy, and I'll minimize this. I'll go to the Mongo, right click, sorry it has not come here, minimize. I'll go to notepad, right click, copy, minimize, and go to Mongo and say right click. Okay, now it has come. I'll press enter. Okay, so one record has been added. Say find now, find. So now altogether we have 3 records. The first record here and second record as we entered. Okay, the record will exist as we have entered. Now here our ID has been inserted with a small ID number, whereas here the ID is very big. Okay, we learn about IDs later on. Okay, first of all let's understand what we have inserted. We inserted ename. Okay, now every column, sorry, every document here what we inserted must have a field name and its value, field name and its value, field name and its value. Here also the field name and the value, field name and the value, because in RDBMS we have to insert the column name only once, and we have to put the data in every column. So the column name is repeated only once, but here the column name is repeated every time. You have to give in the combination of the field name and the value, field name and the value, and so on. Okay, column name and the value, and all the IDs are important for each and every document. Let's add one more record. So I'll go to the notepad, minimize this, go to our notepad, and I'll say this as 2, and here the Shaji as 2, and here I'll say 40, and here I'll say 55. Okay. Now this time I'll remove this particular column. So the score column has been removed. Now the entire column, entire command, I'll copy it, say Control C, and I'll say go to the shell, right click, sorry, it is not copied, I will go back, copy, minimize, okay. The second record, I'll press enter. The second record has been acknowledged, true, right, inserted as 2. Okay, now I'll say find. So there are 3 records has been inserted. Now the first record has how many columns? 1 for ID, okay, 2, 3, 4. In the second record, that is the first record for ID as second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, and third record 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's add one more record. We'll go to the notepad again, and I'll say this as 3, rename as 3, and this time I will remove age also. Okay, and I'll copy the entire thing, right click, copy, and minimize this. I'll go to Mongo and say right click, not copied properly, minimize this, say copy, okay, minimize Mongo. Okay, so here you can see our third record, okay, ename and Shaji, enter, again it is acknowledged. Okay, let's say find, correct. So okay, now I'll put one more record so that you can understand something from this. I'll put one more record. I'll go to the notepad and I'll say ID 4, ename Shaji, and I'll say gender colon male, okay, comma, hobby colon cricket, okay. So I'll copy the entire thing, Control C, minimize, go to the shell, right click and press enter. So this record is also inserted. So if I say find, so there are 4 records, right, 4 or 5 records, but all this, in all these records or all these documents, you'll find different columns, different number of columns, or say different name of the columns, and maybe different data types itself. Okay, so that means a mongoDB can store any number of columns, okay, or any number of data types, but it should have the field name and the column name at the same time. Field name and the column name should be typed at the same time. Unlike the RDBMS, you have the columns name are fixed first, then you put the data into it by giving the values to the columns. Here the column name and the value must be given at the same time, and they can be any number of columns. Okay, now the first record may have 5 columns. At the same time, this next record will be having 3 columns, maybe 2 records, maybe 2 columns. Okay, even the data types may change. Okay, so there is no fixed format in mongoDB documents, but you can store any number of records, any number of columns, okay, into the EMP, or say into the collections. So you understood how to create a EMP or a collection without using the create collection command. Okay, so we have created another collection called EMP1.